Hey everyone, this is Dr. Kris Wusterhausen. So I'm a board certified family physician. I practice in Texas, actually in Dallas Fort Worth, and I'm a scientific board member for nuBioAge, and we're here, of course, at Calm. It's our second Calm actually here in Florida. I think it's going great. We're on day one, and I've got the privilege of interviewing Ryan Gubilee, and I've been lucky enough that I've been using Access Labs for many, many years, and we'll talk about that at some point. But Ryan, if you don't mind, kind of give us a little bit of an intro about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here at Calm. I'm Ryan Gubilee. I'm a business growth strategist from Access Labs. Been with the company a little over 3 years now. Super happy to be here at Calm and interact with current and potential clients and kind of pick everybody's brain and have some fun and learn something while doing it.
It's a great group of providers. I think it's such a unique conference overall because, I always joke when I used to go to family practice conferences and, no one really cared. They were just there to get their CMEs and get out of there as fast as possible and get on the Ferris wheel outside or whatever they want to go do. And so our providers at these conferences, they're definitely passionate. If nothing
absolutely.
else, they're very, very passionate. So I know who Access Labs is because I've had the pleasure of utilizing Access Labs for 6, 7 years. But tell me about Access. Who is Access Labs?
Yeah, so we are one of the nation's largest full-service multi-specialty diagnostic laboratories. Over the past 23 years, we've kind of evolved to perfectly suit the needs of providers that offer functional integrative medicine. We offer a very robust, comprehensive test menu, ranging from blood, saliva, urine testing, and as of most recently, at-home test collection kits. We really view ourselves as more of an extension of the care team versus just a lab partner.
Would you mind maybe talking a little bit more about the at-home kits? Like, what can be done with that?
Absolutely. So we partnered with Tasso recently. They're small kits. You tape them onto your arm, collects a microtainer of blood. We'll ship them out to the patients. They collect at home, and they can drop it off at FedEx to be shipped back to us, and they'll have results in about 24 hours. So
That's really cool. I know that when we were with another lab company, we kind of tested a prototype of that, and I know one of the issues, and it may still be, is that you can only get so much blood
Sure.
from those, so you got to be kind of diligent in the lab tests that you order. Where I found it to be really useful, though, was especially in my hormone practice, was like post-lab follow-ups. Maybe labs that I don't need the biggest panel. Maybe it's a patient. I'm in Texas, so
Yep.
I even live in a little bit rural Texas,
Yeah.
believe it or not, and so those patients that might be an hour away, they really loved the fact that they could just collect their own blood, send it in. They didn't have to drive in an hour to do it. So, in this longevity field, like, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in diagnostics and lab testing within this space that we call longevity?
Sure, yeah. Over the past couple years, we've really seen an increase, a need for more comprehensive lab panels, right? So you have two sides of it. You have the patients that are really taking their healthcare into their own hands, and you have the practitioners that are looking for a more deep dive, trying to get an idea of the full picture. We've seen an increase of advanced methodologies with that, so LCMS testing, for example. As you know, Dr. Kris, you're ordering that in your practice, and you're really testing the molecular weight of the hormones. It's the gold standard in processing them, so you're getting the most accurate readings.
Yeah, and because with LCMS, we're going to get, like you said, much more accurate readings. There's still lab companies out there that are not doing that, and just truly the easiest way to say it is they may be getting very inaccurate measurements.
Sure.
And I always like to tell the story. I have the pleasure of running the BioT training clinic. I know BioT is one of your larger clients, the BioT sphere, I like to call it.
Sure.
And we at a time had because we'll get providers that come into our academia and they want to be pelleted. So for any of those that don't know, BioT is mainly a hormone pelleting company. And so we'd get these providers in on Fridays in the classroom, and on Saturdays we're in clinic and they'd want to be pelleted, but they didn't bring their blood work. So we had a lab company for a bit that was running blood work, not through LCMS. And I'm just going to say, you get some crazy different results.
Yeah.
And very quickly, that's when this kind of became a topic, and it's when I learned, you really need to make sure that your labs are accurate, because there can be nothing more confusing or disappointing to when you don't believe a lab to be accurate. Because I've always had a saying, whenever I get a lab that just doesn't make sense, I repeat it. Because there's always can be error, and so that's great to know that that's how Access Labs does it. So I know that I have an idea of how Access Labs helps their providers outside of just resulting their lab test.
Sure.
But what would you say if I said, well, I'm considering using Access Labs as my laboratory provider for my practice? What is it that I can expect Access to help me with besides just running my lab?
We're finding that data doesn't always paint the whole picture. Interpretation does. So education is becoming a focal point of what we offer. So we offer regular podcasts that we release. So every Tuesday, my personal client, Dr. Ivan Rosolko, hosts the Lifestyle Medicine podcast.
Nice.
Each episode is different. He'll have a different provider on, discuss topics like the business of medicine, LCMS testing, for example, heavy metals. So we also offer physician-to-physician consultations, physician to lab tech consultations as well. So if you have any questions at all, you reach out to us. We'll schedule you an appointment, and you can ask all the questions you have, and really get that back to your patients to educate them.
Yeah, I'd like to think that I'm really special with Access, but I think I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is when we have needed help, we have found help to be plentiful. And so we make a couple calls. We typically get very fast responses. And like I said, I'd like to think I was special, but I actually think that's just how y'all take care of your providers. We've been very, very pleased with Access and their responsiveness because, like, I'll give you an example. Just the other day, and not your fault, but we had a major ice storm in Texas. We drew a bunch of labs. I thought it was a good idea. We really weren't seeing patients, but patients were willing to come in for their labs. They're like, well, let's draw all these labs.
Yeah.
Well, then FedEx doesn't send out our labs because it just sits. And ended up not being y'all's fault, but y'all were very responsive in how to get that rectified and talking us through that. So we're really appreciative of that. So if I'm a new provider and I'm entering this longevity space like so many of these providers here are at Calm are doing, what would be your guidance on what I should be thinking about when choosing a lab partner?
First of all, you want a lab partner that is going to be there for you for support. You're just getting into the space. You want a lab that has been there for the long haul. They know what they're doing. They're going to be there to answer the call. They're going to answer your emails. They're going to guide you through step by step. You want a lab to be there for assistance when you onboard them.
And if I could add some to that too, I would say that if you're a new practitioner to longevity, you have the flexibility with Access to customize your lab panels, but you also have a plethora of great pre-made, pre-ordered lab panels that you can choose from that are really specific to the longevity field. So for that practitioner that's like, I'm not quite sure which way I want to go, I think those are great things. And then let's talk about the really important thing, pricing. Pricing's really good with Access. I think y'all's pricing is extremely fair. I never use the word cheap because cheap is not what we're trying to be in anything.
Yep.
But I think y'all's pricings are quite fair. Even because even though we're an Access user for many years, we still check around and price things, and we always find on average you guys are usually in the lead on pricing because pricing does matter. I'm a cash practice. Pricing matters. The less expensive I can get my labs, then the more labs that I can run on my patients because every patient has a budget, but some budgets are bigger than others.
Yeah, affordability is a big factor. As we are a cash-based lab, it really allows us to be competitive in rates. We're also looking for a lab that will offer fast turnaround time.
Yes.
We do offer complimentary lab supplies as well.
Yes.
So that cuts down on the cost.
Yeah, we didn't talk about turnaround time. Turnaround time is excellent.
Thank you.
I've used other labs that will go other major lab companies that will remain nameless.
Yep.
That sometimes with the hormone panels, it can take 7-10 days to get these results back routinely. And you guys have good turnaround times, and Yargis just great to work with. So.
And as you enter the wellness space, you start to implement your hormone replacement therapy. Your patients are excited about it. They want their turnaround pretty quick. So you draw the blood in your office. We'll pay to overnight it to our lab in Florida. You have your results in 24 hours, and patients are happy and get on with your therapy.
Well, I think you nailed it, Ryan. So before we wrap this up, though, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think that about does it for me. Thank you again for having me on the podcast and having us at the show. So we're looking forward to a fun weekend.
This event's always a lot of fun, and you've been amazing. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
My pleasure.
And for anybody out there looking for a lab company, all Ryan would ask is just give Access a chance. And so
Absolutely.
talk to them, and if they're right for you, give them a shot. So thanks again, Ryan.
Thank you, sir, for having me.